Welcome to the Stafford Cellar. We are one of the oldest establishments and one of the oldest cellars actually in London. We're talking about 380 years old.
Hi guys, this is Sid here, CEO of Beverage Network and your host for Inside the Drinks Business. We are here at this amazing wine cellar, and I'll have Eugenio talk more about it, but we're going to talk about the business of wine cellar, how to manage this amazing cellar. If you're one of those lucky people to have this kind of amazing cellar, what do you do with it? How do you integrate that with customers? How do you drive events and more? So thanks for having me here.
No, my pleasure, Sid.
Thank you. So let's start with some basic explanation about the business of cellar, right? Like, how do you integrate? You had this amazing place, and now you had to make it come live for business. So how do you store? How have you used this for event? What are the business philosophies around bringing this up to date?
No, as you can see, we are very lucky to have such a beautiful place. It's very functional because it's not just used, of course, for storing bottles and keep them on the right temperature, in the right condition, but even, as you can see, to drive events in here. Indeed, we have an event tonight, and we're hosting a lot of wine tastings, wine dinner, very wine-focused, of course, events down there, sometimes even blind tastings. So the cellar usually in a busy period is booked at least 3 or 4 days a week. So it's actually a big plus. Plus, of course, we have the bar, we have the restaurant, and of course, as I said, the private event. So it's actually a big turnover of events.
What is the capacity of this place overall, people-wise? How many people you can handle?
Maximum, what I would say, if you would like to sit down in our private cellar, it would be up to 40 people, maximum. But it depends. Literally, we can do a long table of 22 people, or as you can see in the setting that we have it now.
I can just imagine, so nice setting, so great experience must be there. So we are in this amazing private room, and we're going to talk about customer experience, right? What are they expecting if they walk into a restaurant? I think it's all about how you listen to a customer. So let's start there. When someone walks in, what are the body cues that you're looking for, and how do you know that, okay, I have to fulfill this need for that customer?
Absolutely. Well, sometimes as well, I think the customers are a little bit afraid of the sommelier role, because that's what is our job to do. We need to guide the guest through his needs. So of course, if you came out with a budget in mind, you need to fulfill the budget. You can upsell, of course, but then of course, it's a way.
True. So if I, let's say, and that's a great point, like I'll give you my example. Let's say if I came with my wife and I just want to spend, I'm thinking of 200, as obviously I know where I'm going to go. So I know that's minimum going to be 200, right? If I enter this kind of place, but I don't want to spend more than that. So at least I know that. Now, what are the questions you ask me, or how do you gauge immediately? So that way you are offering me the right wines, or
It's actually one beautiful question that you can do, and it works every time, more or less, is to ask what you usually drink, or what you thinking actually to go for. So that is actually give you a little something in mind, a little price point, a little price range, and a style of the wine that the guest is actually looking for. Like, for example, if you see, usually, I drink some Syrah from Australia. What do you usually drink? Usually I drink Penfold, then already gives you a little idea of what the guest is used to, and what would be kind of at the price point. Welcome to the Stafford Cellar. We are one of the oldest establishments and one of the oldest cellars actually in London. We're talking about 380 years old, more or less. And it's always been a cellar, and of course it's always been used as a cellar. It was actually the private basement of Lady Littleton, which was, they saying, the babysitter of Queen Elizabeth I. Then, after the ages, of course, it passed by of ownership, it became a private club, and then finally, 110 years ago, roughly, it became actually the Stafford Hotel. And another entrepreneur, Madame Prunier, took over the cellars and the restaurant, of course, and she started her own business of importing wines in barrel and bottling everything here downstairs. Then, of course, we use is a functional cellar. As you can see, all our wines are stored here. The temperature is actually ideal and it stays constant during the year. And plus we have a beautiful private room, which we can host private dinners, wine tasting and wine focus dinners in itself. As you can see, the space is not a problem for us, the storage in terms of wine. And then during the Second World War, of course, Stafford was hosting American and Canadian officers from the embassy. And the cellars were used as a bomb shelter, so where it wasn't actually safe to stay upstairs, they were coming down to seek shelter, hopefully with a bottle opener in the pocket.
You know, about the customer expectations, right? So when they come in a luxury restaurant like the Ritz or, you know, yours, or, you know, like fine dining experiences, I think what they're looking for is a great customer experience, right? So what are some service standards that you expect from your staff or which you have to hold up? And I'm sure it's a tough task, right? Like that smile you have to just, every day it's like, you know, what are some basic, like a minimum that as a service you have to must, you know, adhere to?
Anticipation is anticipate the needs of the guest. Of course, it might look that a very, you know, classic environment, but our service is very relaxed at the end. So we want the guests to feel home, to feel, you know, relaxed and to really enjoy it. And we try absolutely to anticipate every need, like, of course, to anticipate the wine or what was a couple of nights ago, we had engagement proposal. So they sat down, we offer, of course, a glass of champagne. And then, of course, when he proposed, she said yes, we came out with another glass, of course, of rosé bubbles, for example. And we tried, because they asked us to film it as well, we tried, you know, to hide it. So it's a lot of anticipation on little things, because all the little details is what make the service and make the experience of the guest as the best as
very nice. I mean, I'll add a personal experience I just had like 10 minutes before when we entered here, right? So when we entered, we were asked sparkling or still water, at least asked water, which is great. First of all, right, while we were waiting for you. And then he asked us whether you want a coffee or a tea. I said no, but the way he asked again, are you sure, you know, I can, you know, give you coffee? Because he said it will take 5 more minutes. So he asked again. But at that moment, I realized I had no obligation, because he asked so nicely that I could say, yes, just bring the coffee. So that is a great example where I was not obliged, because the service was so in the service that I could say, yeah, why not, you know? So I think that was very nice about your team there, you know, in how they asked. So those kind of, I think one of the things that you said is cues. When I like look for people in, like when I'm looking for a waiter, and I see that, oh man, no one's looking, I have to do this. Those are the bad signs, right?
Exactly. So, shouldn't happen.
Shouldn't happen.
Shouldn't happen.
So how do you, you know, advise restaurant industry or maybe young sommeliers to, like, what are some cues? How do you look at customers while knowing that you're not staring at them?
These are like way of communicate without actually even speaking. So at the end, if you think the service is not that long, so you can start, for example, here. We start from 6 o'clock. Well, it's actually all day experience here, but most of the time, the busiest time is from 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock at the end. It's not that much. So it's 3 hours of focus. And you need just to be focused, of course, on the guests, because that is our main,
True.
you know, when we
Showtime is
exactly
like, yeah.
where we need to give the attention. So we need to get in, give the full on, and always be aware of what's happening. Even our colleague, for example, if he's a little bit busy on with the food, because of course we do wine, but if he's busy on one table to serve the food, and another tray comes for another, of course, table, we do some eye contact. And we let him know, you know, to understand, okay, I'll take care of it, don't worry about it. And we serve the food.
Very nice. So you constantly have to cover, you know, each other as well while you're on the floor. So a lot of body language reading is going on, huh? Got it. Do you place food menu and drinks menu together, or it's just the first drinks menu?
We do first, when the guest's approaching, we approach actually with a champagne trolley, with a wine list also.
Got it.
So that is a little trick to upsell a glass of champagne, because when you see it in front, of course, how you can say no?
True.
And then
I know that's a good point.
That is actually a little time when you can actually present the wine list, you know, and explain how is structured and how to serve through the wine list.
Sometimes I've noticed that when I go to fine restaurants, right, like I have no idea about if it's a preset or a la carte or this and that when I'm just browsing as a tourist, you know. And then I would love to actually see the restaurant menu, because if it's just going to be 200 per person or something like that, I know that I'll say no to the drinks, you know, while I'm already there. So do you think it's a good idea to give a little trailer about how much food is so they know about the drinks budget?
No, of course. So, well, we just indulge in a little aperitif usually, and then we leave the wine list, and right after we got our colleagues in the restaurant on the floor that they're coming, and of course then they explain the menu.
Got it.
And talk, of course, about the dishes, the concept, and all the details.
You know, I saw some wines there. I'm sure, I mean, overall, you know, it depends on how big of a wine list this is, but are there, you know, any particular wines that you should just not cellar at all in this kind of environment? You know, there has to be I mean, no points, I'm asking a basic question, like no point putting Jacob's Creek here or like drink now wines, correct? Like it has to be some particular wine. So what are those, you know, just for the normal people who are consumers, you know, what kind of wines they should actually put it in the cellar?
Well, wines that they got a bit of aging potential, as wines that they are meant and actually made to age, as for example the big classics, as for example Bordeaux, some wines of course from Napa, as we have some, and something from Australia, but I would say to get something that is really age worthy, because of course we got wines that they ready to drink now, bottled like last year, and be ready actually to drink right now, and they have like a 5 years more or less lifespan. Otherwise, of course, we have such beautiful Bordeaux and Burgundy, especially Bordeaux, that you need a bit of time. You know, you need a little bit of aging in the cellar in this case.
So when you're buying those wines, you know, are there any notes you're making that, okay, one year I have to not open it, and then, you know, within this period I have to sell it, otherwise it may go bad? So, because it's a different way to manage inventory for this, right? So walk me in that process.
No, of course. Well, we are very lucky to be in London, first of all, and as you can see, every time, like in January, we had Burgundy in premiere, we got Bordeaux in premiere, and we and team, of course, me and the team, we all try to go and try all the new releases of the new vintages. So just for us to understand if it's something worth it, if it's, it was a good vintage, because, okay, you can have all the, you know, all the reports of the vintage, but at the end of the day, you need to taste it by yourself. True. Otherwise, you will not know how it is. And then we just decided what is worth it to get maybe in premiere, what is worth actually to get, well, in a maybe in 3 or 4 months time. And we are lucky actually to have the luxury to get the wines, put them a little bit on the side, get them like 2 years in the cellar, and then put them on the list when, of course, maintaining a good sellable price.
If you were starting your own restaurant, like what would be an ideal scorecard, business scorecard that you would be aiming for?
So first thing is to understand the concept of your restaurant. You need to see what is, of course, the food that you want to do, what is the concept that you want to give, if it's Italian, if it's, you know, fusion, if it's Asian, whatever it is. Of course, after building that concept, you need to build up the wine list and the cocktail list, of course, accordingly to the food, because everything needs to be in harmony, right? So you cannot, if you do a seafood restaurant, you cannot put, as I said, Bordeaux and Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa Valley and 2 whites, you know, like, so you need to be a little bit of balance in it, because at the end of the day, people, yes, they coming with the wine, but the main purpose they coming, mostly they're driven by the food.
True.
And the experience all around.
Yeah.
But that's why when I look on the restaurant, I usually see, okay, today I wanna eat Italian, so let's choose this one. So I choose by the food. And then secondly, of course, second place is the wine. So I would say that, understanding the concept, and then build up the wine list accordingly, and the cocktail. So if it's, of course, seafood, I would try, you know, to focus a little bit on the lighter red with a little bit more on white side, something more mineral, or something with a little touch of residual sugar, you know, if it's like some Japanese concept or Chinese. And then, of course, seeing the needs of the guests.
These are some expensive inventory out there, right? Are there any supplier deals that you make that, hey, if it doesn't sell or if no customers ordering in 4 years, you're buying back? Or are there any such partnerships happening?
But no, mostly as well, as you can see, it's very, we have a lot of turnover, thanks to events, thanks to the bar, thanks to all some even private tasting that we organize. So we are buying smartly, and we smartly enough actually selling out the wines.
So in this category, there is no replacement or buyback from the winery?
No.
So it's not like you bought 40 cases of this, let's say any other wine, and you tell your distributor, hey, it's not performing, replacement with this. With this, it's done.
But usually it doesn't happen. We really actually selling, and we got a good turnover of the wine. For me, like, the best part is to don't have like really dead stock on your cellar, but being able actually to turn over a little bit. Of course, something needs aged, but something that you can always, you know, replace and sell out and buy in.
On the mood part, right? Like, it's, as you said, it's a showtime, you know, 5 p.m., smiles and confidence and chest up, right? But if someone's on a low mood, you're one of your staff member, or maybe you yourself, you know, just had a bad day or whatever is happening in personal life, you know, what kind of self-talks do you do, or maybe to your team, that, hey, you know, it's fine, forget about it, let's just smile and keep going?
Well, it's the team. When you work with beautiful people, as in this case, and you come into work, I mean, you might have some problem, but what I think is like your personal problem of your personal life, once you step inside the premises of your job, you let them outside the door. Because at the end, you came here to work, you came here, you know, to perform, and of course, you know, to let an experience pleasant for somebody else. Still, of course, you have some problem. Well, when you're working with good people, you know, like, and a great team, as in this case, is just you come in, and even if you have a bad day, you have a laugh, you have a coffee, and you start the day like in the best way possible. Nice.
Let's go on the wine list management, or including diversity, you know, or making a diversified wines. Actually, those are two different things. So how would you go about, you know, adjusting the current state of where we are, you know, and that can include, you know, people drinking more non-alcoholic wines, to, you know, biodynamic, to, you know, how are you listening to the current trends of UK market and adjusting very quickly to the needs in your wine menu?
Well, it's very easy. As anticipated, we have the luck to not just have in the restaurant, because of course when you do the buying, you do the listing on your wine list, you need of course, to keep the guest as a focus, you need to see what you usually sell in the restaurant, what your guest actually look after. And here is very focused. We are very focused in terms of restaurant, of course, of kind of a old world wine as Bordeaux, Burgundy. We have a great list of Burgundy. But as well, we have the bar, which is buzzing with a lot of new wave of people. Somebody is looking after some new wave wines. You know, I had some question: do you have any Saperavi from Georgia? Do you do any wine from Slovenia? Do you do something from Romania? And that actually made me think. Then afterward, of course, we had a bit of requests from events for wine tastings in the cellar, of doing, of course, upcoming wine, of beaten track, let's say like that, and of course a little bit of biodynamic and natural wine. So as well is a little excuse, you know, to put some diversity on the wine list, because of course you need to please everybody.
So just for, you know, some people who want to open a small budget wine cellar, you know, very basic, like 101. What are some tips you would give, you know, like go with the wood or maybe bricks, or how would they go about designing a little small wine cellar?
So first thing is temperature. You need to have a place that the temperature remains stable during the year. So you don't have like big like going from, I don't know, like talking about Celsius, like from 10 degrees to 30 degrees. That it might ruin the wine, of course. Second is light. Lighting is very important. You need to have a kind of a darker place, as you see as here. And how you lay the bottle, of course. Usually I suggest people to build cellars in cellar, of course, so underground, which basically is keeping the temperature a little more
underground is the
stable.
best.
Underground is the best.
And what temperature is best, ideal, like 18 degrees Celsius?
Yes, it's between, well, 18 maybe is a little bit too much, but I would here more or less we keep around 15 to 18 degrees. That's what is the temperature. But
and you have air conditioning here?
It's not, it's natural.
But let's say if you're in Thailand or India, or you would need to do something like that?
Of course. I would recommend to get like a conditioner or like a, how you can say, temperature management system,
understood.
you know, to maintain actually a stable temperature.
Understood. You said about laying the wine, so I did not understand, like you mean, how do you, like flat or, you know?
So the thing is that the cork is wood, so sometimes it's drying out, so what is coming, of course, from a tree, so cork sometimes is drying out. To avoid the oxygen to get inside the bottle, and of course about the oxidation of the wine, the best tip that I can give is to keep the bottles laid. So you got the liquid, which is the wine, in contact with the cork, and of course the cork will remain moist, so will oxygen will not get inside the wine.
True. And this is also a bad idea?
No. As long as the cork is actually stay in contact with the wine, that is actually the best.
Understood. Very nice. So if someone is asking you particularly an exact name, right? Like, do you have XYZ from this region? You know, I just tried somewhere lately. And you don't have, right? So do you make a note, or do you, what do you do? At what point you are actually going to put an effort to find out, okay, let me find out about this wine? And where is that? Why would you do that? What would make you do that?
No, of course, if he's a regular guest or a guest that came more than once and he's asking for it, of course, we do it because, I mean, it would be...
So if it's nice, a one-time guest, you would say, sorry, this is not there, this is a closest, and call it a day, right? But if it's a regular customer, you will put an effort to find out.
I will put an effort to find out. Well, as well, if he's been requested for more than once, then of course I will start to look for it because it's requested. Then of course we start actually to look into the wine, maybe because yes, we have the knowledge, but you cannot not know everything, you know, in this world. So we start actually to research, and sometimes even if it come up in a lot of portfolio tastings that happens around. Of course, we start actually to think to list the wine, and of course then having a little bit of fun for us because you know.
Nice.
We are sommelier.
Yeah, yeah.
We are
You
wine
wanna
geeks
try
at the
different
end.
things.
No, so we want to try everything.
Absolutely. Just one last question on the business metrics, right? You know, a lot of people, especially like we think that sommelier is more related to wine, but obviously it's tea, beverage, to everything, right? Can you give us a breakdown of a standard category breakdown for a total beverage sales, like what it should look like, you know, as a normal sales breakdown?
No, absolutely. Well, depends, of course, on the places. Here, thanks to the bar, thanks to the restaurant, and thanks to the cellar, we are more or less 50-50 with the food in terms of sales.
All right, got it.
More or less, in terms of wine and spirits. Talking like that. Of course, food make the most of the time, but more or less
So it's
we are on the
50%
same.
food, 25% wine, 25% spirits.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, maybe depends, because if you think about it, we got events, we got restaurant, and of course we got bar as well. So yes, it will be around 30% wine, 25% spirits, because it's at the end is we have the luck to be a very focused place for wine.
And in that, if we break down more, you know, how much is cocktails, how much is coffee, how much is tea, just a rough estimate?
Well, let's say that if we sold, we closed the year with 4 million in F&B. Let's say a rough figure. So will be more or less a 2 million in terms of beverage, which includes cocktail, spirits, and wine, and of course water gets in it. And
oh yeah, water is a big category. Yeah.
Sometimes it helps, huh?
Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
little extra pounds.
Yeah.
And so let's say that more or less will be 1 million in 1 million, and sometimes is 990,000 in wine, maybe 1.5 million in spirits, or vice versa. So more or less.
Walk me over the customer experience, right? Like when your guest comes up there and dining, you know, can they come and see and pick the bottles here? And, you know, how is that journey? How are you storytelling this amazing place?
No, when somebody, of course, is actually very passionate about wine, it's what I do. Say, okay, let's go and get some shopping done.
Wow.
So we bring in the customer downstairs, we go around the cellar, of course, with a wine list, and we go and just basically, you know, shopping. So picking something from the shelf, something that he likes, because of course it's something is seeing on the list, and something else is actually seeing the label lively.
Nice.
On there.
Which is the highest markup category? You know, is that water? Is that coffee or cocktails or wine? Where is the highest net margin?
Well, I think spirit is doing the most, because of course you integrate cocktail with it. Sometimes, of course, you do a proper margin on cocktails when yes, you have a base spirit, then you have some juice, then you have some syrups. Well, that I think is make a little bit more of higher margin.
Cocktails.
In cocktail wise.
And
spirit, more or less, I think, a little bit higher than the wine.
Okay.
But wines, we talking, yes, it really depends of how much the wine it costs, because we break down our margin in different categories. So of course, more expensive is the cost of the wine. We try to reduce a little bit the margin of sales, and then the wines that are a little bit more cheaper, we try, you know, to balance it out. So
if there is an average, if I'm an analyst and I'm breaking down this data, when I'm drinking wine, it's the wine table, when they're having wines, you know, have you seen more top line, like $200 billing versus a spirit would be $120, pounds? Which category has more top line contributions?
I would say that is mid-range.
Per person, I'm saying. Like,
okay.
Forget about which is actually contributing, but if there was one person you're drinking spirits and I'm on wine today. Yeah. You know, is your bill going to be like 2 cocktails and mine is going to be maybe a bottle as an average, 60 pounds?
I would say that is actually more than wine, especially in the restaurant.
More in wine, right? That's
more
what
in wine and
thinking.
More downstairs, of course, in the cellar.
So if I wanted to increase profit, I would say, okay, let's do more cocktail sales. And if I want to increase more top line, I would say, let's sell more wine.
Exactly.
Am I correct on that?
Basically, yes.
Got it. What about, you know, how do you know, if wine has gone bad until you don't open. I guess you just don't know, right?
You just open it. No, but
are
you
there
got
any
actually
devices or any techniques where you would know by color change or something happens?
You see it. Well, you see it when you remove, of course, the little foil on top. You will see the first TP will be maybe a bit of mold or a little bit of color change in the cork. So if you have some stain of wine, it means that the wine came out a little bit. So it might be some oxygen that it went. If some wine came out, it's possible that some oxygen is getting in. And then you can see, of course, the level. But as well, it might be and might not, because if a bottle is very old, we call them angel share. That is something that basically just disappear because it's alcohol, it evaporates, and of course sometimes the bottle it is here, then of course after 30 years, of course the level of the wine will be
so
here.
angels come and rank.
Exactly.
Nice, fantastic. What are some things that you think that overall, customers or consumers, basic consumers don't know about, how to store in wine cellar?
Well, that's the trick.
Tricks, yeah.
Lighting, temperature, and
buying must be one important element, right? Like I would not know that this wine, for example, would be better how many years. Like I have no idea if I can store this for 5 years or 10 years. Is there any educational ways, or where can I search?
It is, of course, it is, because, well, on label-wise, more detail you find on the labels, that will mean that more will be higher in quality. As for example, if you see on the label just Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa, let's say like that, it will be something, but you don't know where it is, which AVA, or where is the grape are coming from. But if you have some I don't know, like from Montvidar AVA, like Mayacamas, Montvidar AVA from Napa, then you have a little bit more information.
True.
And of course, full is the body of the wine, more likely that the wine
will open
be,
up more,
exactly,
and it will take time.
Will age worthy, let's say.
Got it. What have you seen changed, after COVID? Have you seen a different kind of customer? Can you just give us a little summary about the new, way customers are coming, expectations, or even what they're drinking, just to talk about trends and what has changed? Well,
knowledge of the people, first thing, because, during COVID, a lot of people actually start to thanks to the influencer, let's say on Instagram, thanks to being at home a little bit more time, somebody was, let's say, on furlough, wasn't working, so they start actually to develop a little bit of passion in terms of wine, so to develop a little bit of knowledge also. So that's what we see after COVID, people with more knowledge.
We drank more.
on terms of wine. Yeah. And that was very pleased, because it was even a little bit more exciting for us,
nice,
to try to guide the guests. Okay, during lockdown, I drank a beautiful Refosco from Slovenia.
Very interesting.
Fantastic, yeah. I don't have it, but let me suggest you something on the style that
you at least got them talking.
Exactly,
because they tried different things.
And then, of course, increase of price. As you see, Bordeaux, Burgundy, they spiking up a lot.
True.
So we need to find
overall the prices have gone up.
And they're going
in
up
all categories?
and up.
Yeah.
Well, mostly Burgundy. Of course, the release of 2021 it wasn't that much.
So no effects of this interest rates are coming in the current spending, like people are spending low now. Have you seen any effect at all in the last 30 days or 60 days?
Not really, but it depends on the type of business. It really depends on the type of business. For us, we haven't seen any decrease in spending. Actually, we did a very good year last year, and right now, last year we weren't that busy as now, for example.
Because in the news say UK recession, but as we all know, everyone's saying we are so busy.
Exactly. So for us, it's very not strange, but I mean we are really happy about it, but unusual.
Yeah.
But we are really happy about it.
What about people part of the business, right? Like managing people, staff. Just the last one there on like the psychology of your team, your colleagues, yourself. How has that changed? I mean, I'll just give you some leads we can follow from there, like hard work, patience, retention.
No, well, people now, I don't say demand, but they are a little bit more used to have more free time for yourself, for your private side hustle or studying for us. So what everybody, I think around London mostly, and we're trying actually to do less working hours maybe, and to focus a little bit more, you know, for example, with my guys, let's say that, okay, tonight is not busy. If you want, go home, study for your WSET or your quarter master, go out, study a little bit more. So to give a little bit more
time.
Free time, you know, and we can see that this is actually, guys are coming more relaxed, they're coming with more willing of work, they're making, of course, in less time, they're making done more than, let's say, in 12 hours, because of course in 12 hours then you get very tired.
And you see this being normal now, the next permanent sort of way people are going to have a relationship with, you know, work?
But I think so, because, well, it works. Of course, it's not easy to find work power right now in London, because it's a big shortage. Hospitality was, of course, driven by people, you know, from Europe, from outside, from France, Italy, Germany, or like most Europe. And during COVID, people went back home. So now it's a bit of a struggle to find people working hospitality, which is food, which is kitchen, which is a dining room, or as a sommelier. Sommelier is, you don't find it.
Wow, tough, huh? Just define what is a good sommelier to you.
A good sommelier is the sommelier who listens. A good sommelier is the one who makes smart question to the guest and make the guest, of course, feel at home. It needs the guests need to be enjoying and making the right questions and have a bit of kindness, of course. I think you will make the experience.